Now, this is rather an unusual scene, and it's an unusual text. But you know, God is unusual. God does things in an unusual way, at an unusual time, in an unusual place, sometimes to unusual people. God is unusual. He does the unexpected many times. And then we might say again to an audience here of several hundred people, isn't that kind of a small text to make the door in the door? Choose about 7 words out of one of the verses? Well, it isn't the quantity of anything that counts, it's the quality that counts. Some time ago there was a little story I heard of a little boy that was searching up in the attic, and in an old trunk he found a postage stamp, a little bitty fella, yellow, with age, and the little fella had ice cream on his mind, so he had a stamp collector down the street that he rushed down to sell the postage stamp to. Thought he'd get 5 cents the purchase of an ice cream cone. When the collector put it under the glass and looked at it, he said, "I'll give you a $1 bill." Well, the transaction of business was closed right quickly because he was glad to get this $1. Way down the street he went with several cones of ice cream dreaming in his mind. Later on, I understand that this collector sold this stamp for $500. Then it went from that to hundreds and hundreds of dollars. Now I forget now what that stamp is worth. The paper that it was wrote on was not even worth picking up. It wasn't the paper, it was what was on the paper that counted. And it isn't the size of my text tonight, it's not the value of the paper that it's written on, it's what it is that's wrote on the paper. It's the Word of the living God, an offer of pardon. A pardon. It's a pardoning. The Word is pardoning to every man or woman or boy or girl that will receive it. Some years ago in the Civil War, or the Revolutionary War, it was, I believe it was the time of Abraham Lincoln, it was, that there was a soldier that had done a violence, and he had run away in time of battle, shirked his line of duty, and they caught the man. And they tried him before the courts and found him guilty. And the sentence was to be shot by a firing squad. And there was a man who thought so much of this young fellow. He was a nervous, upset boy, and when the old muskets and cannons began to fire, he just run because he was scared to death. But he had shirked his duty, and he was going to be killed in a certain day. His execution was set. And a friend of his went to the President of the United States, the gracious Abraham Lincoln, and good old Abe, as he was entering into a hotel room, this friend ran to him and he said, "Mr. Lincoln," and he said, "I know you to be a Christian man. You're the commander-in-chief of the army. And this certain man is guilty of what they tried him for, but his conditions, he was scared. He's a good man, and I know you don't believe in taking a man's life. With your word on a piece of paper, his life will be spared, even if he has to stay in federal prison. Don't let him be killed. He was a good boy. I knowed him, raised up in the neighborhood with him. Good old Abe got him a piece of paper and wrote just a couple of words across there, 'Pardon this man, Abraham Lincoln.' Oh, the boy rushed back to the prison cells and he showed his friend. He said, 'You are freely pardoned.' He said, 'Don't make fun of me knowing I'm to die in the morning.' He said, 'Here is the President of the United States, the Commander-in-Chief. He signed your pardon.' And the boy looked at it, said, 'That's just a piece of paper. There's nothing to it. You're trying to make my death more miserable than it ever was. Intended for me to be I will not receive it. And he walked back and behind the cell and refused to look at the paper anymore, because he said, if Mr. Lincoln would have signed my pardon, it would have had the letterhead and so forth, and his seal upon it, and so forth. So therefore, I will not receive it, because it's only a mockery. The next morning, the man died before a firing squad. Now, what's going to happen? There's the commander-in-chief of the army, says that this man is pardoned, and now he's shot by a firing squad. Now what are we going to do? It was tried in the federal courts of our nation. And here was the verdict of the Supreme Court or the federal court. It said a pardon is not a pardon unless it be received as a pardon. Therefore, this word tonight is a pardon to everyone that will receive it. But if you do not want to receive it, it is not a pardon. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man will hear my voice and open unto me, I'll come in to him. What an invitation. There is a famous painting. I forget the Greek artist that painted it. Many of you might know the artist's name. But spent a lifetime painting the picture of Christ at the door, knocking. And when all great pictures, before they can be famous pictures, they have to pass the critics. And when the critics was criticizing or trying to find something to criticize the picture, one critic said to him, "Sir, your painting is a great painting. It shows that Christ has a light in His hand as He comes in darkness to the sinner. He's coming at night time. There's nothing I could say about that. For that's when He comes to a man, it's when he's in darkness. And the expression on his face as he knocks at the door with the expectation of hearing someone on the inside respond to his voice or his knock. And said it's all beautifully drawn and illustrated here. But said there's one thing that I must say that you forgot. He said, how would he be able to enter? You have no latch on the door. And the painter said, is that your criticism? He said, it is. He said, sir, I painted the picture this way. He said, you see, this is a different kind of a door. The latch is on the inside. That's the way it is. Christ cannot by His own will open the door and come in. He can only knock, and then you open the door. The latch is up to you. He can knock, but you have to open. So that's the way it is. And then when we think of a man knocking at a door, it's no unusual thing.